Good morning. The June 7th Board of Education meeting is now in session. Please rise for the invocation. O God, we pray to administer that which is just in all educational policies, being ever mindful of your guidance, stir us to action with love, wisdom, and understanding. The pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we move on to the agenda, since this is the last board meeting before school is dismissed for the summer, I just wanted to request that we take a moment of silence. Since August, we've lost several members of our AACPS family, including one just yesterday. So please take a moment with me. Thank you. Item 2.03 is approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
All those in favor? The minutes are approved. Item 2.04 is establish agenda order, and the agenda stands as published. Item 2.05 is recognitions. Ms. Rissi.
Good morning. I'm Jody Rissi, Supervisor of Food and Nutrition Services, and I have the pleasure of presenting this morning's recognition. Before I begin, I'd like to ask members of the board and Dr. Arlotto to please come forward. On that note, members of the board and Dr. Arlotto, today we are thrilled to be able to recognize two key partners in an initiative that we launched last year to improve access to fresh food and fresh produce in the Brooklyn Park community and provide health-related resources in that area. Our school system worked with the Community Education and Health Equity Program at the Anne Arundel County Department of Health to undertake a multifaceted approach to tackle food insecurity in the northern part of the county. We partnered with Brooklyn Park Middle School to serve as a site at the Summer Meals, a United States Department of Agriculture program that offers free meals to youth ages 2 to 18. To address the limited access to fresh fruits and vegetables in this area, several county agencies collaborated to organize a weekly farmers market each Monday in conjunction with the Summer Meals program. You can't have a farmers market without a farmer, of course, and we were ecstatic when Russell Schlegel at Schlegel Farms agreed to participate. We began working with Mr. Schlegel and Russell a year earlier as part of the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program, and we are happy to expand this partnership. Brooklyn Park is considered a food desert. It's a USDA designation for a low-income community where a significant number of residents have low access to supermarkets or grocery stores. Thanks to Schlegel Farms and the Department of Health, we were able to increase access for residents to fresh, farm-to-table products. In cooperation with the Maryland Farmers Market Association, we also were able to help those residents with matching dollars, 97% of which were spent at the farmers market. During the market season, we also gave out approximately 33 families a weekly CSA bag, which was full of produce, all of which came from Schlegel Farms. As we talk about cultivating communities of wellness, we need to think especially about the residents in the communities where access to fresh produce is limited. We'll be back at Brooklyn Park starting June 19th, and I'm very happy to say that Schlegel Farms and the Department of Health will be with us. As Russell and Eileen Schlegel of Schlegel Farms and Anheuser Bizelli of the Department of Health come forward, please join me in thanking them for helping to provide a critical link for needy residents in our county.
Very much. A taste of your products. They're very nice to me.
Nice thing, my daughter.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that. Thank you very much. I think to your product here for you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. My daughter's at Brooklyn Park. Thank you for doing that. It's my pleasure.
Thanks. See you on the 19th.
Yeah, you bet.
I'll be there. Rise your folks. Good job, Billy. Please.
Good to be on the center. She's pushing me. Should you and y'all aren't doing it. He's a big dude.
Why don't we switch places? What do you guys think? There we go.
He's a big dude. He's a big dude.
Thank you.
Item 2.06 is Educator of the Month. Mrs. Birch.
Thank you. Today, the Board of Education recognizes a fourth grade teacher in our school system who is a respected educator and whose influence helps keep the staff morale high at Glendale Elementary School. Lauren Pollock is an exemplary educator who goes above and beyond to grow professionally and apply all that she has learned. This includes engagement in curriculum writing opportunities, attendance at county conferences, and attendance at a 3-day AVID conference. As an educational leader, she has applied this knowledge with engagement, goal setting, task generation model application, and interactive read aloud to her current instruction and performance. As the fourth grade teacher of language arts at Glendale, she has influenced a 20% growth with last year's PARCC scores. Lauren is a model teacher who consistently strives for personal growth and academic achievement of all of her students. Ms. Pollock promotes positive changes in the growth of students as well as teachers. Other teachers seek her support, model their instructional ideas from her, and adopt their feelings about initiative, programs, and activities because of her positive influence. She is well respected and looked to as an exemplary model of growth mindset. Lauren is an active participant in county curriculum writing. Last summer, she helped write interactive read-aloud plans and served on a committee to revise grade-level quarterly assessments. The knowledge she gained has been put in place within her team and the school team. She is a positive influence, has a passion for growth and learning, and consistently finds ways to impact Glendale Elementary and its community. Lauren Pollock is positive in all interactions. Change can be stressful, but Lauren consistently has a positive attitude and is always a willing participant to help implement change. She promotes mutually respectful relationships within her classroom and uses positive language with all students. Ask anyone at Glendale who is a dedicated and respected teacher, and it comes as no surprise to hear Lauren's name mentioned over and over. She is respected by all staff, from custodians, secretaries, support and resource staff, teachers and administration. She is a highly sought-after educator and is loved by her students. Lauren Pollock, you make students feel valued, listened to, and trustworthy. You put in great efforts to actively engage in all school professional development, collaborative planning, and school meetings. You are a reflective instructor and accept feedback. The hours you put into planning and meeting the needs of all of your students is truly exemplary. So for these reasons and more, the Board of Education is pleased to recognize you as Educator of the Month for June 2017. Congratulations. Would you please join me up front?
think you were expecting this night.
No, it's a little bit of a surprise, just a tad.
So what I have for you, I have a certificate and a bell with your name on it that you can use for your students. So there you go.
Thank you.
So what did they tell you to get you here this morning?
So I was told I was coming to back up my principal over here, Mrs. Snyder, for a lead teacher position.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, I was just come, look pretty, not not have to get up here.
Oh,
So,
well, you're being very supportive. That's very nice of you to do this.
so yes, this was a big shock to
Okay,
me.
and it looked like a few extra people came in. Who's here supporting you this morning?
Yes, it's my great family. And my dad. And my sister. And my brother. And my fiance, Louis, and his parents. And this year has been tough for me. I lost a very important person in my family, my mother, but I know she was an educator in the county for a little bit. But I know she's here with us right now.
Well, and I'm sure she made you the person that you are, and
Yes.
the reason that you're the great teacher that you are. Thank you so much for everything that you do for our kids.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Item 2.07 is Employee of the Month, and unfortunately, our Employee of the Month could not be with us today as he's attending his child's promotion ceremony, so we're going to have to award that one another time. So we'll move on to 2.08, Volunteer of the Month, Ms. Sassa.
Each school dedicated PTO and PTA board members are usually unsung heroes of their volunteer program. These devoted volunteers spend countless hours year-round working closely with their school administration and staff. They carefully plan events that are both engaging and raise funds for field trips, equipment, and enriching assemblies. Today, we are going to ensure that one of these dedicated PTO presidents is no longer unsung, Mrs. Lori Miller. You are that exceptional volunteer whom the Board of Education is proud to honor as our June 2017 Volunteer of the Month. As an active Oak Hill Elementary volunteer since 2009 and Oak Hill PTO president for the past 2 years, Mrs. Miller enthusiastically leads and inspires PTO board members, numerous committee chairs, and individual volunteers to work for the benefit of the entire school community. Mrs. Miller leads the Positive Behavior Intervention and Supports, or PBIS committee, which distributes positive behavior incentives and organizes the huge Minute to Win It year-end PBIS celebration assembly. Now, thanks to Mrs. Miller and her volunteer team, Oak Hill has earned the coveted PBIS Gold School Award. As a member of the Green School Committee, Mrs. Miller recruits and schedules volunteers and speakers for the school's Green School Celebration Day, and she engages the school in Severna Park's annual Community Earth Day Festival. Mrs. Miller has a knack for creatively planning and organizing seamless events that promises fitness, the arts, and intellectual curiosity for children and adults. She's key for the success of bedtime story nights, school-wide talented shows, school plays, and fall movie nights. For the past 4 years, Mrs. Miller has organized Oak Hill's Race for Education, which this year raised over $25,000. In her spare time, Mrs. Miller mentors classroom parents, coordinates reading and math volunteer tutors, and works with the students at the morning book club. Principal Deneen Houghton marvels at Mrs. Miller's ability to motivate and manage volunteers throughout the year. She writes, under Mrs. Miller's presidency, 2 new volunteers programs have been adopted: the Grand Eagles, the older community members, and the Watch DOGS, which engages dads. Kindergarten teacher Angela Holmes reports that Mrs. Miller is in our school before, during, and after school hours, working tirelessly to provide the best environment. She even cleans out storage closets. Her positive, uplifting outlook is an asset to the school community. Fifth grade teacher Kimberly Cessny appreciates Mrs. Miller as an exceptional PTO president, volunteer, and person. Her countless efforts have helped make our school a wonderful place to learn and work. Thank you, Mrs. Miller. Would you please come forward? With great appreciation, I present this Volunteer of the Month certificate and bell to you.
Okay, Lori, how did they get you here?
I thought we were getting the wellness distinction award.
Well, you got a better award. So we will present you with the Volunteer of the Month and the bell so that you can have every classroom listen to you.
Thank you.
And who's here with you today?
My husband, my children, my mom, and my sister-in-law.
Thank you very, very much for coming, and thank you for your service. Okay, thank you.
Before we move on behalf of the board, I wanted to express thanks and appreciation for our Tony Anzalone, who works on this board-sponsored program for the Employee, Employer, and Volunteer of the Month. It brings recognition to so many well-deserved employees, and you've worked tirelessly for many years to enhance the participation in this program. We've watched you grow the program and personally bring the faces of Anne Arundel County to us. We hope that you'll continue the work in the next year, and we would like you to come forward for just a little token of our appreciation.
I don't have a bell for you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you. And it's been my pleasure working with you and with you guys up here, especially Molly and her colleagues. Thank you. Thank
you. Item 2.09 are school and community highlights. Mrs. Birch.
Graduation season just ended. It was wonderful everywhere I went. It was delightful. Congratulations to first all the parents of the high school graduates, all the teachers of the high school graduates, and the high school graduates. But parents and teachers, good job getting them through. I also had the opportunity to go to Ruth Eason's graduation for their certificate achievers, and I used more tissues as Ms. Jackson does. We sat next to each other. It was not a good scene. It's one of the more touching experiences to see these students who have worked so hard for all these years finish their school experience with Anne Arundel County and going on to work at Providence Center or Opportunity Builders. And just to see their parents' pride in the things that they were told that their children would never do, that our staff has been able to help them achieve. And if you ever have an opportunity to go to a graduation at one of our special schools, I highly recommend it.
Ms. Williams.
I also had the opportunity of attending a couple different graduations, including my own. Each one was unique and different and kind of showed what each school was about, so I absolutely enjoyed that. And then just yesterday afternoon, I was able to attend the retirement assembly that they were having for Mr. Jeshu, who has been the principal at Hilltop Elementary, my old elementary school. So it was just amazing to see former students come back and old coworkers and colleagues, and then all the students who attend Hilltop now just sharing in like the legacy that this woman has, and it was so great to see that.
Mrs. Nally.
I, again, had a wonderful graduation season. I attended 7 graduations. As Mrs. Burge said, they all were special. I appreciate the administrators and the parents and the students, all that participated, the teachers, in making these graduations special. Central Special I attended, and again, lots of Kleenex, and I just am amazed at what the teachers and staff do for some of our students that really need so much extra help, and it was just a wonderful experience. I also, yesterday afternoon, attended my final Maryland Hall board meeting. I have been served on the Maryland Hall board for 8 years, and it has been a wonderful time to see the expansion of Maryland Hall. We are breaking ground as we speak on a $5 million addition to the back of Maryland Hall. Friday night will be a huge celebration for Linnell Bowen, president, who is retiring. I encourage, again, everyone who would like to attend. That's been my experience the last couple of weeks. I said I've propped my feet up. I've been really tired after some of these graduations, but it's just always remarkable. Thank you.
Mrs. Hummer?
Yes, just echoing how fun the graduations were. It doesn't matter if you know kids there or not. They're all exciting. Miss Nally and I both went to Central Special, and their graduate gave us all a kiss. So we all got a kiss on the hand, even Chris Truffer. So it was very sweet. But I want to give a special shout out to Glen Burnie High School. Not only did they graduate the wonderful Carolyn Williams, but they had their highest graduation rate ever, highest percentage of students going on to college ever, highest scholarship totals ever. So hats off to Glen Burnie Gophers. And last night, Mr. Gilliland and I were able to attend the retirement dinner for our employees who are retiring and talk about an impressive bunch. I believe Ms. Kutcha said that it was over 5,000 years of service that were represented by our retirees. So it really is incredible. One of the retirees with the most was 51 years here in Anne Arundel County. And so that is just amazing. And we are so grateful for all of their service, and we hope they all come back to continue to volunteer, but they can do it on their time and not come every day, but we could sure use them in all capacities. But many thanks to all of our retirees for the many years they've given to our school system.
Ms. Sasso.
Once again, this is another board member that went to high school graduations, which are really the culmination of the years for the teachers, the administrators, and above all, the students who have basically climbed the ladder of success to start all over again. But one of the things that impressed me that I went to during the course of the last 2 or 3 weeks of the last board meeting is basically the business effort that the Board of Education and the administration does to not only depend upon the funds that come from the county. I attended a presentation basically of a cell tower that will take place provided the community agrees to it. And if you don't know anything about it, in our land, our school land or our public land, basically we are trying to bring in cell towers which would pay royalty to the schools. And there's also solar panels that are being basically placed in the different school lands that will also bring funds to the schools. So I wanted, and I was really impressed as to the fact, once again, we do not depend only upon what the budget and right now at this moment what Steve, Sue, and what the county gives us, but we are trying to generate money since the school really needs a lot of things. Thank you.
Mr. Gilliland.
Thank you, Madam President. Just very briefly, though, only because he's in the room, I wanted to just say thank you and congratulations to Nelson Harayan. I thought the graduation for the evening high school was awesome. I was honored to be there with Mrs. Nally, and every student had a story, and the student speakers were just amazing. but I hate to single out any one speaker, or in this case two, but the twin brothers was just such an added touch. And again, I just want to say that was such a great graduation to be part of, and thank you for everything that you've done to make that happen.
And I'll just say ditto about graduation. Pomp and circumstance gets me every time. And I'm just so impressed at every graduation I go to with all of the detail that goes into the planning and orchestration of that from all the people at our school. So thank you to those who make those days go off without a hitch. Item 2.10 is the CAC report.
Good morning. I'm Kelly Purnell, the Vice Chair of CAC. As we wrap up the school year, I'd like to share with you some of our subcommittee findings. The first subcommittee that was formed, we looked at testing, and standardized testing and assessments continue to be a hot topic this year, and I'm sure going forward. The CAC conducted an online survey that we distributed to all the schools in just this past May to solicit feedback on standardized testing in our schools. And two themes emerged from that survey. The first is that parents are concerned about over-testing, and that there's also a perceived lack of clarity about the purpose and use of the testing results. There's confusion as to whether the results are used to evaluate students, teachers, schools, and so on. Moving forward, we would welcome any opportunities to provide input on PARCC testing implementation and efforts to consolidate or improve testing practices. And we would also suggest revisiting communication methods and practices that are intended to educate the parents about the testing that the students are taking. The second subcommittee dealt with equity, and at the request of the board, this subcommittee investigated potential barriers for at-risk students in the county. The committee had contact over the year with multiple school staff personnel, and truly appreciate the time and efforts that these people put into helping all the students succeed in the county. The subcommittee is interested in gaining further information regarding disciplinary statistics across schools and demographic groups to confirm that there's equitable discipline across groups for similar situations. Also would be interested in further exploring the time lapse between educational placement transfers due to discipline and the readmission to ensure student educational needs are met. We would recommend exploring the possibility of increased CAT North or CAT South opportunities for at-risk populations and or students as alternative schools. And we'd also recommend ensuring that families of these students at the alternative schools have a voice in the community. We found that they did not have PTAs and they have no specific CAC representation. And finally, we have the Transportation Subcommittee. There were two questions or concerns that were raised this year, particularly with the Annapolis cluster with regards to inefficient bus routes and the use of the bus optimization software. The specific bus route questions or concerns were addressed via communication of the problems to appropriate personnel, and I think were hopefully resolved. And then, as you're aware, Mr. Les Adams gave a presentation to the board in April that explained the complexity of effectively utilizing the VMAX Compass transportation system software. And so we attempted to disseminate this information to our clusters. Moving forward, we'd recommend continuing to share information throughout the next school year with parents in all clusters, but especially the Annapolis cluster, as to how the VMAX Compass transportation system is being implemented and how those bus routes are being optimized as the school year goes on. So, are there any questions? No?
Great, thank you, and I also want to thank Melanie on behalf of the board. I know she's completing her term and won't be chairing next year. We very much appreciate her leadership.
Actually, she'll be here next year.
Oh, okay. 2.11 PTA report.
Good morning. My name is Allison Pickard. I'm the current president of the County Council of PTAs. I have a brief report where, as graduations are winding up and the school year is winding up, PTAs are, many of them are having their elections or changing over leadership. So the council will be providing trainings over the summer for new leaders and members who would like to think about leadership going forward. So June 22nd at the Carver Center in Crofton from 6 to 8, the council will support anyone wanting training for their officer roles. And that's all I have to report. So have a lovely day. Happy summer.
Thank you. Item 2.12, the CCAC report.
Good morning. My name is Kathy Flaherty. I'm the vice chair for CCAC. I have 2 children in our school system. Thank you for the opportunity to talk with you about special education and about CCAC's past year. Just to highlight some of our activities this past year, we continue to maintain a CCAC website and respond to stakeholder inquiries. Our membership of parents, guardians, and staff consists of about 450 email subscribers, about 150 Facebook subscribers. We hold monthly meetings with varied attendance, focusing on concerns pertinent to special education in the county. We continue to hold active representation on CAC and PIAC, and we recently added live webcasting to our meetings this spring. This past fall, we held our 4th annual Special Education Resource Fair with over 40 community organizations and AACPS departments, sharing information with about 130 families. It's a fabulous cooperative event to reach out and interface with parents and guardians discussing and explaining special education services. Some of those people have children in special education and really don't understand the system, and this is a great opportunity to kind of help them understand. We distributed 27 copies of Lost at School by Dr. Ross Green to AACPS staff and Type 2 non-public school staff. Dr. Green has dedicated his life to working to help those who work with children to understand challenging behavior and work toward positive solutions. His nonprofit organization, Lives in the Balance, offers strategies to empower educators to address root causes and enact change with their most at-risk kids. Our strategy is to help provide resources to address these issues for our students who are slipping through the cracks. Our expectation is that these and similar strategies will work toward decreasing suspension rates for students with and without disabilities. The 2016-17 CCAC survey is currently live, and as of last night, it had over 800 total responses, 600 related to IEPs, about 200 related to 504s. It's a great opportunity for parents of students who receive special education services to give direct feedback of their impressions of the effectiveness of those services. The 15-16 survey closed with about 1,100 total responses. Overall, the surveys had a really positive response. And a positive response about special education services in the county. It showed about a 7% increase in overall satisfaction from the second year over the first year. This is the 3rd year for the survey. The survey continues to show a need for school-based IEP teams to seek additional support from outside the school building when needed. The survey team believes that involvement of the central office staff can be a proactive measure that can avoid or lessen further complicated, expensive measures in providing special education services. CCAC was honored to be appointed to the School Board Appointment Commission to represent the interests of children with disabilities in this next appointment. To sum up our concerns, special education is and will continue to be a complicated puzzle for most parents. It's often overwhelming to navigate what feels to be a frustrating mystery, with your precious child's success at stake. CCAC believes more resources for parents to be partners in this journey are necessary. Staffing for special education remains a concern. Too often, parents hear or feel service decisions are based on staffing limitations. Staff can often be overwhelmed with large caseloads and feel forced to make decisions based on what is possible to do rather than on what a student truly needs. CCAC understands the various competing interests for resources and funds. We also know that the payments for crisis to correct student situations will almost always exceed proper proactive planning and service provision. Lastly, there's continued concern regarding lengthy transportation times for some special education students, particularly some of our students in non-public schools. Morning and afternoon bus travel times can be over 2 hours for some students, which is especially concerning. We recommend that there be a cap placed on allowable travel time on a bus and discontinue sending students to schools that require over 4 hours travel time on a bus. Thank you for your attention and support for all of our students with special needs and disabilities.
Mrs. Hummer.
I just want to thank all of y'all. The women who run CCAC are an amazing group of advocates, not just for their children, but for all exceptional children in the county, and y'all do a great job. Thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to take a short break to do pictures of Educator and Volunteer of the Month, and we'll be back for public comment. We'll move on to the public comment portion of the meeting. Anyone wishing to speak on an item not on today's agenda may offer testimony during this portion of the meeting. Speakers will be allotted 3 minutes each, and the board asks that comments remain civil and appropriate for the various audiences that may be watching or viewing the meeting. Student-specific and personnel matters are confidential and cannot be discussed in this forum. This time is intended for speakers to voice their opinion and not necessarily as a question and answer period. Speakers may pose questions, but answers will be counted toward the 3-minute allotment. For the record, please give your name before speaking, and any handout should be given to the board assistant. I only have one card today, Christina Dyson.
Good morning, President Korbelek, Dr. Arlotto, and members of the board. For the record, my name is Christina Dyson. For the past year, I stood in front of this podium and gave a report on behalf of the Chesapeake Regional Association of Student Councils. But this past Monday, I graduated from North County High School, and as I am no longer a student in the Anne Arundel County Public School System, I am no longer a member of CRASC. I do not speak today as a student striving to improve her school system. I speak as a member of the public striving to improve her community and her country. In recent times, both my community and my country have struggled with issues of hatred, intolerance, and violence. Over the past couple of years, it was to my despair that I learned that these issues struck closer to home than I used to think, with incidents impacting schools' climates in AACPS, and most tragically, the recent killing of a Bowie State student at the University of Maryland College Park, a school many of my friends will attend in the fall, and the alma mater of both my parents. Despite these discouraging events, I was very pleased to learn that yesterday, the Anne Arundel County Council unanimously passed Resolution 22-17, which, in the words of OAI News, responded to the killing, as well as other recent events in the state and county that have shown hateful messages and speech serve as a call to action for certain individuals to perform bold acts meant to induce fear and commit acts of violence, which the resolution condemns. This anti-hate crime resolution is a step forward for inclusion and diversity, and a movement against racism and intolerance. As a member of the public and a resident of this county, I encourage the board to release a public statement to acknowledge the passing of Resolution 22-17 and to support its message. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Janet Norman.
Thank you for this opportunity. I'm Janet Norman, an Annapolis High parent for the next 4 years. While we rightly celebrate the graduations from our 12 high schools and the amazing staff who helped our students get there, let's not forget the 16,500 high schoolers who are taking long exams right now as we speak, after rising at 5:15 to 6:15 this morning. No amount of Ms. Chittum's or Mr. Mack can fix all the problems we lay at their doorstep, no matter how fantastic they are. I'd love to talk about all the great things they do and the staff does, but it's our obligation to talk about the things that need fixing. 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. That's how long our police chief, Altamir, says it takes our kids to get a hold of drugs in any school or neighborhood if they want to. They don't even need money. First few times can be a free marketing sample. When you exhaust them, their judgment goes awry, and the I'm too tired to think, care about response takes over for schoolwork or bad choices. Think about what's in control for you as a school board. You can't control the drugs flooding into our county or what dangerous or fatal substances they're laced with. You can't control the home environments that our teens are raised in. You can't control the presence of social media in their lives. You can't control the astronomical costs of college or the pressures of stress of launching into a good career or college path. But what you can control is the amount of resiliency they bring to these pressures through rested, healthy body and brain. Our current and next school year times don't achieve that, so it's time to act further. This is not about me. This is not about start school later. It's not about winning a position or voting for our opinion. It's not about you or anyone else in this room. It's about them, the high school students in our charge and care. The 69,000 high school person years they'll experience in the next 12 years when you and I are all long gone from decision-making. At the Adolescent Sleep, Health, and School Start Times Conference this April in D.C., I met school officials from all over the country taking action. I wish you could have met them and learned from them. You still can. They are willing. Seattle, Denver, Connecticut, Wisconsin, Texas, Kentucky, and more. Superintendents, transportation directors, school board members, they all said, it's the why you do this and the communicated intent to your parents and community. Then the how can be adjusted. We're leaving our kids behind. What's incredible is the frequency of our kids with thoughts of self-harm or mental health crises, including talk of suicide. As Ms. Williams might know, there's even a standardized protocol in our high schools that one's sent out of class to talk to the guidance counselor. From my suburban New York high school of 2,000 kids, in the last 18 months, 4 of them have committed suicide. That's too many. So as our Anne Arundel County Health Department reports clearly indicate, not my child is not an adequate mindset after the fact. We must ward off addictions with prevention measures, as the CDC advises us. Sleep is one of those ways. They're all our children, not just the ones who are thriving. Thank you for any actions you will take to achieve safe and healthy school hours for all our children. I would love to know if you've fixed Mead Heights elementary times for our military families. I appreciate your consideration and all you've done for our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the board at this time? Okay, we'll move on to consent items. Award of contracts. This is an information to action item. Do I have a motion to bundle 4.01 through 4.09 and move them from information to action? All those in favor? We now have an action item. Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend that the Board of Education approve contracts as listed on today's agenda as items 4.01 through 4.09.
Is there any public comment? All those in favor? Motion passes 8-0. We now have action items 5.01, administrative personnel appointments. Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation, please.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend the board approve the personnel listed on the attached sheet be promoted and or appointed. Oop.
All those in favor? Motion passes 8-0-0. Item 5.02, personnel. Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend the board approve the actions as stipulated on the attached sheets.
Mr. Gilliland?
Thank you, Madam President. I know we typically don't comment on these, but there are just 2 names in particular, though, on the retirement list, who were teachers of mine that were very impressionable. And again, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge them. Melva Sunday, I saw her last night at the retirement ceremony, and Richard Albright, who I saw at events at both Benfield Elementary and Shipley's Choice Elementary earlier this year. And again, both of those teachers were music teachers. And you know, between the 2 of them, they have over 80 years experience with Anne Arundel County Public Schools. And I just want to personally thank them for all that they've done for students across the county for 4 decades, and then thank them for what they've done for me.
Thank you. Mr. Grant.
Retirement of Jean Marie Hofstetter, which is listed as item 24 in the retirement section on page 6. And just note that Ms. Hofstetter has dedicated 40 years of her life to serving as an educator, all of them here in the county, most recently as the president of Davidsonville Elementary School, where I think she's made a tremendous difference in the lives of students there, including my older son, and just really appreciate her service.
Thank you. All those in favor? Motion passes 8-0-0. Item 5.03 is the Jones Elementary School Deed of Easement and Agreement. This is an information to action item. Do I have a motion to move this from information to action? All those in favor? We now have an action item. Dr. Arlato, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend the board approve of the Jones Elementary School deed of easement and agreement.
Second?
Are there any board questions or comments? Are there any public comments? All right. We'll move to item 5.04. All right. All those in favor? Motion passes 8-0-0. Item 5.04 is the ratification of the negotiated agreement between the Board of Education and the Association of Educational Leaders. Dr. Arlato, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend approval of the tentative agreement between the Board of Education and the Association of Educational Leaders.
And we have a presentation.
Yes, good morning. For the record, my name is Melissa Rawls, and I am the Director of Employee Relations. Good morning to you, Ms. Korbelak, Dr. Arlato, and members of the board. The negotiating teams for the Board of Education and the Association of Educational Leaders have reached a tentative agreement for fiscal year 2018, subject to your approval. In brief, the summary of changes as agreed upon by both parties include, but are not limited to, one full step increase to all eligible 2 employees. Unit 2 employees at the top step will receive a 1% COLA, and a second full step will be provided to eligible employees who were employed in Unit 2 during the 2008-9 school year and who remain employed in Unit 2 into the 2017-18 school year. Additionally, there will be an extension of the professional leave pilot program for the 17-18 school year. Lastly, there have been modifications to health care plan design. This year, the teams negotiated exceptionally challenging issues, particularly related to health care. However, both parties worked diligently to reach an agreement that served the best interest of the board, AEL members, and support their commitment to AACPS students, staff, and community. I would like to give special thanks to Will Myers, the president of AEL, Nelson Harine, the vice president of AEL, for their dedicated efforts, as well as the entire AEL bargaining team during this FY18 negotiations. On May 24th, 2017, AEL ratified this agreement, and as such, I respectfully request your approval and ratification of the noted summary of changes.
Are there any board questions or comments? Is there any public comment? Would you like to have a comment, Mr.?
No. Yes.
Okay.
Good morning, President Korbelak, Dr. Arlato, members of the board. For the record, I'm Nelson Harine, Vice President of the Association of Educational Leaders, AEL. Today we are seeking your approval and ratification of the negotiated agreement effective for the school years of July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2019. This agreement was the product of a collaborative bargaining experience and provides a compensation package funding all Unit 2 employees, regardless of their step position on the current salary scale or longevity in the employee of this school system. Most importantly, it also acknowledges that salary and health care premium contributions by the employees and the board and benefits provided for all are linked together. We are hopeful that you will continue your efforts to secure the funding as agreed. AEL stands ready, along with the other bargaining units, to assist in this effort. It is also our hope that a collaborative effort between labor and management will continue, so our joint efforts to provide fair and equitable working conditions and pay for Unit 2 employees will be an ongoing goal. Thank you.
If I may, I also just want to note that one of the other terms of the summary of changes include a examination of the current salary scale for AEL. Both parties agree that revisiting the current structure to examine additional or alternative options for ways to pay AEL employees is something that is very important for both the board and AEL. So we will begin those efforts during the 17-18 school year as well.
Thank you both. All those in favor? Motion passes 8-0-0.
Thank you.
Item 5.04 is the ratification of the negotiated agreement between the Board of Education and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. This is an action item. Dr. Arlato, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend approval of the tentative agreement between the Board of Education and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Local 1693, provided AFSCME membership has ratified the TA, this tentative agreement, prior to the board's actions.
And we have a presentation.
Yes, again, for the record, my name is Melissa Rawls, the Director of Employee Relations. The negotiating teams for the Board of Education and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Local 1693, have reached a tentative agreement for fiscal year 2018, subject to your approval. In brief, the summary of changes as agreed upon by both parties include, but are not limited to, 1 full step increase to all eligible Unit 3 employees. In addition, there will be a 1% COLA for individuals who are at the top step of the salary scale. Lastly, a second full step will be provided to eligible employees who were employed in the 2008 through 2009 school year and who remain employed in the 2017-18 school year. There is also going to be a modification to the salary scale, which will more equitably smooth out the steps that are included within that salary scale. In addition, there are modifications to expand the eligibility requirements to the sick leave bank, and there are also modifications to healthcare plan design. Again, this year, the teams had to deal with very challenging issues related to healthcare. Both parties worked diligently together to reach an agreement that served the best interests of the board, AFSCME members, and support their commitment to AACPS students, staff, and community. I would like to take time to give a special thanks to Corey Blake, who is the Special Assistant to the Executive Director of AFSCME Council 67, and Roland Johnson, the President of AFSCME Local 1693, for their dedicated efforts, as well as their full bargaining team in successfully reaching an agreement for FY18. On June 3rd, 2017, AFSCME ratified this agreement, and I respectfully request that the board approve and ratify the noted summary of changes as well.
Thank you. Mrs. Hummer?
I just want to thank Ms. Rawls and all of her staff and the leadership of the two bargaining units for all their hard work. It is nice this year that so many of our contracts are being ratified so early in the not school year, but in the fiscal year. And I know that was a lot of hard work on the basis of both parties. So thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any public comments on this item? All those in favor? Motion passes 800. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next two items are policy revisions, second readings. These are information items. The first one is item 5.06, suspension and dismissal of professional staff, code GBU. And there were no public comments, correct?
Correct.
Are there any board questions or comments? Are there any public comments today? So that one will come back next board meeting, correct? For
Yes,
vote?
correct, June 21st.
Thank you. Item 5.07, also a second reading, investigations and due process, code BAG, and there was one public comment?
Correct. For the record, Jeanette Ortiz, Legislative and Policy Counsel. Good morning. We had one public comment on policy BAG from a TAC representative, and the concern relates to section 1A under the position where we list teacher, principal, supervisor, assistant superintendent, or other professional assistant. TAC was concerned that all certificated employees were not covered. However, I was able to share state law which defines professional assistant as a certificated employee, and the language, the list that we have in 1A is actually derived from state law. So I think that was able to answer the concern.
Thank you. Are there any board questions or comments? Is there any public comment? All right, so we'll see that one next time as well.
Yes, correct. Thank you.
The last item on today's agenda is a review item, 6.01, award of contracts. Are there any board questions or comments? Is there any public comment? All right, that will conclude the public portion of our meeting. I just have a couple of announcements. The next Board of Education meeting is Wednesday, June 21st, 2017 at 10 a.m. The next Board Budget Committee meeting is Wednesday, June 21st, 1 hour after the public meeting. And the next Board Policy Committee is Wednesday, June 28th at 1 p.m. Mrs. Hummer?
I move that we go into closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction, or any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals, and to conduct a collective bargaining negotiations or consider matters that relate to the negotiations.
All those in favor? All right, we're now in closed session. Have a wonderful day.